manifolds that we bought, which are in perfectly fine, brand new, never used condition. The driver's side, and cut that off. So we're gonna see if we can take these, weld that on there. I got the manifold cleaned up. Before we take that, I clean this piece up that I cut off the end of it. I'm gonna lay a few beads around this and lay a couple beads right here just on the edges and just see how it's gonna act, because I ain't never tigged this stuff before. I got this one welded. It ain't too bad. Hell, it welded just like anything else. All right, well, we got that one whacked off, cut off, whatever you want to call it. So let's get it cleaned up and get it welded. Got this one cleaned up pretty good. One of the differences is from this pipe to that one over there is when I TIG weld this one on, I'm gonna have to go in there and bore it out a little bit, kind of even it out. I mean, I ain't got to, but I'm going to. All right, let's get it welded. So we got it all welded up. I went ahead and welded all of the inside. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, jumping ahead a little bit. Got the motor out. So we got some templates made to kind of mimic that in kind of a small way, but not really. So what we're gonna do is hook the transmission back to the motor. We're gonna put the transmission back on the engine, or back on the block. We're gonna start sliding it back in. And as we slide it in, we're gonna kind of trim those, I guess, little by little, till they start to kind of go in. And try to get the motor back into position and get that trimmed up. We'll pull it back out. And then we'll take the templates, put it on the plate, cut that out to kind of match the cardboard. And hopefully all that'll work out. Gotta watch a little Rick and Morty. 2 hours later, we got the motor in. I got the templates back there, finally got those cut. This took forever. All right, so we're gonna pull this out, transfer the template over to that. Probably make it a little bit bigger, and then I'll kind of trim to fit as it goes back in. Well, that ain't gonna work. I thought it'd have enough bite, but it don't. It ain't long enough. So we gotta go with some more bolts. Well, we got the bolts in. They didn't have all the bolts I needed, so I got one long one, then used the short ones over there. The other thing I gotta do is whenever you use one of these plates, you gotta get longer dowel pins. So I pushed the old dowel pin out a little bit for right now. We'll get them later too. All right, let's take and throw this back in there.
Spiral deeper, spiral lower, by my hands unmask the hour. Light of the black veil falls again. Through embers, memory bends, echoes gather.
I got the backing plates on, got these drilled, and made a little mistake. Wasn't thinking. I put the plate back here and didn't drill the holes so that I could mark this and then pull it out and drill it. That's, yeah, when I realized I did that, I had to walk off for a minute. So, yeah. So now I'm fixing to pull the plates out. I pull the motor out, drill the plate, put it back in, mark the backing plate, and take the plasma cutter and cut the hole, because I ain't got no other way to drill that hole. Yeah, that sucks. Alright, so I drilled the plates. What I ended up doing, went to Harbor Freight and got a little angle drill. Put my little taper bit in there, and that was able to get in there and get it done. Got the intake sitting on. Got it, kind of got it pre-marked a little bit, kind of a fugly outline of where I think I'm gonna cut, possibly. Alright, so at this point, this video is, we're just kind of bouncing from one thing to another. So we're really just going to be taking clips of what we've done, so you can see what we've done, and maybe a short explanation of anything that we did. And that way I can just kind of keep it moving. We got the intercooler piping in. Fits a lot better than it did. Got to figure out how I'm gonna have the shifter mounted right here, but still be able to get to that. And now we're getting ready to run the pipe from here to here. And I got to run that pipe over there, because this is where it's gonna be now. I've also got the exhaust hooked up. That way the turbos are in the location that they're gonna be in. And so yeah, let's get to finishing up some intercooler piping. If you're doing some intercooler piping and you're going to put a coupler on the end, you're going to have to put these little beads right here so your coupler don't slide off. Alright, so we got the last of the pipes put in. See how this works. I ain't 100% on how this is going to work, considering it's firing kind of straight in, but once it's pressurized, it should just flow path of least resistance and go on out there, but we'll see. Well, we measured the new intercooler piping. We went from 20 foot 5 inches to 12 foot. So it's 8.5 foot of intercooler piping we lost. So hopefully that'll make a difference. Well, we got the fuel pump brackets put up. I don't know how well you can see that. Just kind of welded it to the bed, then welded it to the crossbar right here. The fuel line comes in from over here. The feeds are gonna come from here. They're gonna come around and then probably connect. Well, not probably, they're gonna connect here. I just don't know if they're coming around this way for sure or not. So what we're about to do now is we're fixing to do the trans cooler right here. I'm getting ready to make the brackets and stuff for that. Got the little fan shroud that I made. It sits right on it, like that. Alright, so this is what I came up with. This side's pretty basic. This side's a little different. So I had to build a second little step to fill in the gap because I got both of the lines on this side. So I could have done one of these. This is like a dual cooler. I could have rotated the top one the other way, and then I could have made both brackets the same. But I wanted both of the trans cooler lines on this side because this one has to loop in to that one. This will be the in, that'll be the out, right? And then these two right here will feed each other. Well, that's fuel pump time. Fuel pump time. So I ain't never worked on one of these. I ain't never taken one apart. I ain't never watched no video on it or anything. So we're gonna pull it apart and see what we can find inside of here. We wanna make sure we get it cleaned out in case any fuel has tried to gel up or anything in there. Yep. See if y'all can see this. See that? Right there. That's what we gotta get out of there. See that? Where's my little limbs at? Hang on. This baby will zoom. Yeah, that stuff right there. Yeah, we gotta get that out. Yeah. We just blew one of these little washers. Where's that camera? Yeah. So we just blew one of these little washers. There she goes. Slap across the freaking shop floor. Not good. Yeah, buddy. Ain't got no light. But let's see. Can you see all that right there? Yeah, that's why we took it apart. So I know we're jumping around a lot in this video. There's just a lot to do and it's too hard for me to record all this. We're down to the last, I'd say 20%. Fixing to get the stuff, put it on the motor, all your sensors, move some things around. Flywheel, got to bolt all that in, get the transmission, torque converter, put that on. And then we're gonna slide it in and start getting it wired up. So one of the things I'm changing is my oil pressure's coming down here. I took that plug that's usually down there where we were just at, and I put it up here. Right, I'm gonna block this off. So we're gonna pull the oil pressure from here. The reason being, when I put the intake on, the intake is so low, it's gonna hit this. This will clear, the cam sensor will clear, but the oil pressure wouldn't. And I could have adapted probably and then turned it this way, but yeah, I just swapped them. We're gonna see if that'll work. We're gonna slide the converter into the trans. For anybody that ain't ever done this, see that pin back down there in the back? All right, a little pin down there. There's two of them. They slide into these grooves, and you better make sure they're slid in before you mate that to that, so you don't bust the pump. So what you do is you slide it in, you rock it, and it'll drop in. And once it drops in, sometimes you'll feel it, it'll go in, it'll like, it usually drops, you wiggle, and it drops in again. Unless you just hit them pins dead on, which usually never happens. Alright, so we threw the motor in. One thing I forgot is my alternator where I hook up the positive wire. It's really close to this corner. So I'm fixing to cut that out, bring this back a little bit. Couldn't make up my mind where I wanted it. I think we're going to put it on this middle line right here. It gives me plenty of room. So I got that cut. You can see the amount of room I got now. The other problem that I've ran into, the anti-dampener does not line up with the alternator anymore. So the pulley needs to come out just a little bit from what I can see with my eye. So I got to find a washer that'll come on, that'll slide on here and won't rub. So I got to find like some shims for that. We've been fooling with the wiring harness, and I've gotten these wires kind of, well, a little better than they were. I'm not a wire person. I don't like wires. I'm trying to keep it as out of the way as I can so that the tube can come right down through here, and trying to make sure everything stays away from the throttle bracket or the throttle lever. Trying to make sure everything stays away from the throttle lever over there. There's nothing worse than getting your throttle hung up. Put a new trans brake button right here for the backup. Still got to hook up the e-stop or ground. Well, all I got to do is ground the e-stop. Got the shifter, got it hooked up. Right. Just slowly chiseling away at it. So let's see, got the fuel lines on, they're still loose. Got these wires lengthened. I got my oil pressure down here now because it wouldn't clear back in there. This has been lengthened. Put new fuel injector wire. Let me show you what happened. I'm trying to think while I'm talking, so kind of. So these, I don't think I got one sitting here. Yeah, I don't have one sitting here. So these wires were pulling out of the connector, and I'm almost wondering if that ain't what happened that caused me some trouble. There's one right there. See, the red wire's gone, or the pink wire that was in there. Yeah, all you had to do was just pull on it and they pulled out. So I'm thinking that might have been part of the problem, but I got some wire from Summit, got those connectors a while ago, so I'm fixing to get back on the harness, do some more wiring. We're closing in on it pretty quick, so I believe in this video you'll be able to see the truck run. We'll see. Well, I know I just got through saying that you'd probably hear this truck run in this video. That ain't gonna happen. So it's probably been a week since I made that clip, and basically we got everything done. So everything is pretty much ready to go. Front end's done, realigned all that. Actually, before I get here, let's go back to here. So I think the last thing I spoke on in that last clip, this didn't have hoses. I still had some stuff to do up here, but so we got the water hoses ran, and I'll pick the truck up and I can show you how we did all that. The alternator. So what I did on that is ordered another Motion Raceworks pulley, and we downsized the pulley. This one's 3-inch. The other one I had was 3.5, and it was charging at 8,000 RPM, but wouldn't charge at idle. So I'm running a 14-volt battery. I'm not that concerned if I overspin it and it stops charging at 8,000, because I still have 14 volt and all the amp I need because of the battery I'm running. So it should be fine. And if not, I'll jump it back up to that pulley. But when you order these pulleys, I had an alignment issue where they come with shims, man. Motion Raceworks thinks of everything. And by the way, this is their bracket. Only bracket I've ever used that freaking worked. But anyway, we got this right here. It is dead in line. Everything's great with that. There's no flex in none of this. What else did we go over? The wiring. right? So we got all that cleaned up. It's tucked away up in there, so can't nobody see it. Don't tell nobody what it looked like. I had to run these wires after, so we're probably just gonna zip tie them, kind of clean it up just a little bit. I may take the time one day to put it in the loom. Maybe my kid will do it for me. They're going, I need to clean it up a little bit back there too. But, so what did I do back here? We changed out the wastegate springs. I had 1 pound spring in these, and I moved it up to 3 pound springs because with the 1 pound spring, I didn't stay at like a 1-to-1 ratio. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to do that, but I know with a 3 pound spring and a little bit of added help, I don't have to have so much dome pressure, and it keeps it at a little bit more of a 1-to-1. You can see the hoses coming down through here. You can see I need to clean up the wiring that we added. But the oil pump setup works. So that's the oil pump for the turbos. There's the reservoir, got all that. We've checked everything. Everything's good. Hadn't put water in here, but we did spin the motor. Got the battery in, got everything over here that needs to be wired in. Put a little bit of water in here, hit the switch for that. It's pumping, going in the right direction. Trans cooler that's underneath, it's working. All the fans are going in the right direction. What else did we do? Got the seat belts back in. Steering wheel setup is so much better. We moved that steering column, and before, the way the seat was and the steering wheel was, you couldn't see the gauges in here. The steering wheel was in the way. So now your line of sight goes right through the steering wheel right here. So that's a lot better. So I did away with the tack because actually, I did away with the tack because it has a tack in here. I just couldn't ever see it before. So now we'll just use that. Did the front end. We ended up having to space this pretty bad to get the camber right. But now when you let it up and down, the wheels don't move quite as much. There's a little spot where it toes out, but I don't run in that area. So I'm towed in to a certain distance, which would be on a prep track, and then it goes up and it tows out, and then it tows back in, and from here up would be no prep. So the little spot that it tows out doesn't really matter. I'm not worried about it. So what ended up causing the issue for us not to be able to start it was I got all this on and forgot that I didn't flow my injectors, and I locked up 4 of them injectors. So I sent the injectors off, and the guy ended up calling back and said there was 4 of them that was locked up, and the other 4 was 8% off. So he's going to see what he can do for me, try to save me a little bit of money. And injectors back, we should be good to go. Put all the fluids in it, prime everything, and see if we can't get it running. Hopefully everything's good. I hadn't shot power to the ECU or anything. I was waiting on those to come in, but yeah, stay tuned for the next video and we'll get this thing running.